Isabelle Adjani.
Bonsoir Isabelle Adjani.
Isabelle Adjani.
Isabelle Adjani.
Isabelle Adjani.
Isabelle Adjani.
Isabelle Adjani.
Isabelle Adjani plays the wife.
Frankly, I didn't have to get married to have lousy sex.
No, I did.
There's a woman thrashing on the tiled floor of a Berlin subway station, and God knows how she has become relatable.
I felt nothing for no one!
40-odd years after a film crew turned the cameras on her at 5 in the morning in a shuttered U-Bahn stop, that 2.5-minute fit of screaming milk, blood, and ruined groceries is the thing a certain kind of woman reposts at 2 a.m. when she's furious and can't explain it any other way. We've turned it into a meme, a mood board, a shorthand for feminine rage. Which is a strange fate for a performance that the actress herself describes as a kind she barely survived.
I don't know. I guess it's part of the rules.
She won the top acting prize at Cannes for it.
I don't know. What am I supposed to say something? I'm very happy to be here.
She won her country's equivalent of an Oscar.
No, everybody was telling me, well, don't even think about it.
And then she spent years in therapy and said, in so many words, that she could never agree to do it again.
And to me, it's about passion, love, and creation.
That woman is Isabelle Adjani. The film is Possession.
Et Possession d'Andrzej Żuławski.
And the gap between how impossibly beautiful she looks doing it and how close it apparently took her to the edge, that gap is the entire reason we're here. If you only have 30 seconds, here's the bottom line of this video. Adjani became the patron saint of female beauty in Rage by doing the one thing no one can fake. She let a role cost her something real, and she did it with the face of a Botticelli angel and the discipline of a woman who treated acting like a religion. That's the secret. But if you'd like the longer, stranger, far more scandalous version, and I know you do, then follow me. Welcome. I'm Kira, and this is your beauty blueprint. This week I went all the way down this rabbit hole, happily of course. A whole week of watching, reading, cross-checking, and freezing on single frames of all things Isabelle Adjani, so I could bring you her essence and the best of what I found. And stick around, because by the end of this video I'll even serve as a quick breakdown of what we, practically, in our own bathrooms, with our own faces, can steal from Isabelle Adjani's blue-soaked style universe. One bit of housekeeping before we sink in, because I'm a little proud of this one. For this episode's launch, I designed us a Possession-inspired t-shirt, with a small detail only people who've seen the film will catch. If you'd rather wear the reference than explain it, the link is waiting for you below. Alright, settle in, and pour yourself something. And because we're being thematically responsible tonight, I have opinions. You could go literal and a little grim and have a small glass of cold milk, in honor of the groceries Anna destroys in that subway. Too soon? Or you could go to the source and brew a pot of sweet North African mint tea. For her father's side of the family, the side she defended in public when it cost her something to do it. Drink in hand? Good. Here's a tiny backstory. Isabelle Yasmine Adjani was born on the 27th of June 1955 in Paris and raised just outside it in the suburb of Gennevilliers, where her father worked in a garage. That makes her a Cancer, which, if you follow this stuff, you can already feel in your bones. Cancer is the sign of the home, the shell, the moods that roll in like tides. The crab with the soft body and the hard shell, which is about the most on-the-nose chart you could have for a woman who'd become famous for being unbearably sensitive behind a beautiful guarded surface. Her exact birth time isn't reliably documented, so hold this loosely, but the hour that gets passed around puts her moon in Libra, the placement of beauty, balance, partnership, and a real allergy to ugliness and conflict. A Cancer sun that feels everything, wrapped in a Libra moon that needs everything to be harmonious and lovely. Keep that in mind, because Possession is essentially 2 hours of what happens when that exact woman is denied both safety and beauty at once. Her father, Mohammed Sherif Adjani, was Kabyle Algerian, born in Constantine, and he fought for the French army in the Second World War. Her mother, Gusti, was a Bavarian German Catholic, and the two met in Germany as the war was ending. Here's a small, sad, telling detail. Her mother sometimes asked him to go by Sheriff, because it sounded to her more American, and at times told people he was Turkish out of shame about his Algerian roots. Isabelle grew up bilingual, with German effectively her first language, carrying 2 Europes and a North African name through a France that did not always make that easy. And she was a prodigy, full stop. She recited her way to a school prize, was acting in amateur theatre by 12, and stood on a film set at 14. At 17, she signed with the Comédie Française, the oldest and grandest theatre company in the country, as its youngest contract player, and floored everyone as Agnès in Molière and as the water sprite in Undine. Her movie breakthrough came at 19 with The Slap. And then, at 20, came the role that set the template for everything after it. Truffaut cast her as Adele Hugo, Victor Hugo's daughter. He sunk into an obsessive, unrequited love and, therefore, out of her mind. It earned her an Oscar nomination at just 20. The youngest Best Actress nominee anyone had ever seen, a record she kept for about 3 decades. Truffaut, for the record, wrote her a letter to land her, telling her he'd never felt such a desire to fix a face on film, not since Jeanne Moreau. I'm going to resist cataloguing her whole filmography, because she deserves her own series, and most of those films are not tonight's business. But you should know the shape of it. She's the only actress ever to win 5 Césars, France's Oscars, for Best Actress, across 4 decades of work. By any sane measure, she is the most decorated French film actress alive. We're talking about one of the great screen artists of the century, who also happens to be one of the most beautiful women a camera has ever been pointed at. So let's file the rest of her films under another video. Tonight, we've got a marriage to destroy. Now, I promised you scandal. And we're about to reach the scene that built her myth and possibly broke her, plus the rumor that had an entire country convinced she was dead. So do not go anywhere. But just a quick little favor first, because it really does help small channels like this one survive. If this right here is the kind of company you like while you do your skincare, tap subscribe and the little bell. It costs you nothing, and it keeps me in the business of obsessing over French actresses on both our behalves. Okay. The subway. So, Possession. The man behind it is Andrzej Żuławski, a Polish film director with a face like a wolf and a worldview to match. And he didn't so much write this film as bleed it. I know, dramatic. Well, he'd just come through a brutal divorce from the actress Małgorzata Bronek, and he has said, flatly, "The film was my private life." There's a moment in the movie where a husband comes home to find his small son alone and smeared with jam. That happened to Żuławski in his own apartment, and he put it straight onto the screen. He'd also just been thrown out of his own country. The Polish authorities shut down his epic on the Silver Globe mid-shoot and destroyed his sets. And when he sat down to write, by several accounts, he was quite, well, how can I say this on here? Not so much in favor of his own aliveness, if you know what I mean. He loved Ingmar Bergman's Scenes from a Marriage, but felt it was missing something, and the thing it was missing, in his opinion, was monsters. He wanted Isabelle Adjani from the very start. Her management said no. The producer's words were that it was not for Isabelle, it's impossible. Very typical French answer, by the way. So the production turned to the Australian actress Judy Davis, with Sam Neill as the husband. And then Adjani changed her mind and took the part anyway, which is its own quiet bit of foreshadowing. She walked straight toward the thing everyone sensible was steering her away from. There's a lovely wrinkle here too. It was Bruno Newton, the cinematographer, her partner at the time, and the father of her first son, Barnaby, who, while being considered to shoot the film, said the role of Anna was perfect for her. Yep, the man who loved her helped hand her the part that would nearly undo her. Years later, she'd reverse the favor and hire him to direct her in Camille Claudel, the story of a woman driven mad, in part by a man. These people do not make easy choices, as you can see. They shot Possession in West Berlin in 1980, mostly in Kreuzberg, and Żuławski kept putting the Berlin Wall in the frame on purpose. A city physically split down the middle was, to him, the perfect set for a marriage tearing in two. There's even an East German soldier watching the characters through binoculars, the state itself spying on a private despair. And the monster, because yes, there is a monster, was built by Carlo Rambaldi, the same creature designer who'd worked on Alien and, the very next year, on E.T. Yep, the hands that made the gentlest alien in movie history also made that tentacled thing that Anna takes as a lover in a super grimy Berlin flat. And here's the structural trick some people miss. Adjani plays 2 women. Anna is the dark-haired wife coming apart at the seams, always in blue. Helen is Anna's double, the husband's calm, green-eyed schoolteacher, the good version, dressed in white. One face, two destinies. The mad woman and the Madonna, the woman who feels too much, and the woman who's been sanded down into being safe. Keep that blue versus white in your back pocket, because when we reach the beauty breakdown, that color story is a good lesson to pick up on. The most famous 3 minutes Isabelle Adjani ever filmed take place in an empty U-Bahn station, the one then called Kreuzberg, now Platz der Luftbrücke. Anna is walking home with groceries, and then her body simply revolts. She convulses. She slams the bag of milk and eggs against the wall until it bursts. She drops, she writhes, she laughs and screams and weeps all at once, and fluid, blood, milk, something, leaks out from her onto the tile, in what the film frames as a sort of miscarriage. Anna later describes it in dream logic. What she lost down there, she says, was Sister Faith, and what was left was Sister Chance. It is grotesque, and ballet-like, and almost impossible to watch, and it does not look like acting, which of course is the point. Żuławski shot it at 5 in the morning, when the station was closed, and he knew precisely what he was asking for. It was unthinkable to repeat this scene endlessly, he said. Most of what's on the screen is the first take. There were 2 takes, the first one and a safety one. She found that, whatever that is, on command, at dawn, in the cold, twice. There are reports that he borrowed methods from the Polish theater radical Jerzy Grotowski, pushing his actors into something close to a trance to get there. And here's where the movie glamour curdles into something we should sit with for a moment. Sam Neill, the husband, the easygoing dad from Jurassic Park, has been remarkably candid about what making this film was like. He said Żuławski asked more of you than you could possibly give, that he would scream and bellow directly into Adjani's face, and that it was distressing to watch. He said he believes, in a way, that they were victims of abuse on that set. At one point, the director made him truly slap her, and she insisted he do it for real. "You must do it," she said, and Neill has called it the most distressing thing he's ever had to do on film. His verdict on the whole experience: "I call it the most extreme film I've ever made. I only just escaped that film with my sanity barely intact," and he escaped lighter than she did. Żuławski himself said, in the DVD commentary, that after Adjani saw the finished film, she attempted, how do I say it? Well, not to remain alive, but Adjani has never told it that way herself. What she has said, in her own words, is subtler and somehow heavier. In 2023, she described something of great violence that I agreed to take on, adding that it's something I could never accept again, part of everything her subconscious had spent decades, in her phrase, swallowing and incubating. She wondered out loud whether acting had been a bit unhealthy during certain stretches of her life, and then she said the line I haven't been able to shake. "I consider myself a survivor for a lot of reasons. Great actresses have all been devoured from the inside." She has also called possession psychological pornography, and said it's the kind of film you can only make when you're very young, before you know what it will take out of you. "I got bruised inside out," she said. The recovery took years. She won Cannes for this performance. Uniquely, the prize was shared that year with her work in the Merchant Ivory Drama Quartet, and she won the César the following year. So when the internet turns the subway scene into a tidy little female rage gif, there's an irony worth noting. The most convincing depiction of a woman being torn apart that we have on film may well have torn the woman apart in real life. It's just the real weight of the thing we keep reposting. And here's the wild part. None of this was obvious at the time. When Possession came out, most people hated it. Britain banned it outright as a so-called video nasty, filing it next to cheap gore. In America, a distributor hacked off more than a third of the film, cut it down to about 80 minutes, and resold it as a generic monster movie in grindhouse theaters, where Vincent Canby of the New York Times said the mangled version made no sense whatsoever. The masterpiece spent years as lost to bootleg, and then, pretty slowly, we, the women, found it. A gorgeous 4K restoration toured in 2021, and the film detonated all over again, this time on Tumblr, on Letterboxd, on TikTok, on Instagram, where Anna's bloodied blue dress meltdown became the reigning symbol of feminine rage, spliced together with Black Swan and Gone Girl. The image one country banned and another butchered is now a profile picture and a love language for a generation of girls who feel too much. The actress Rose Depp has said she thought about this performance constantly, that Adjani inspires her enormously. That's how a film becomes the face of our women's cinema, not when the critics bless it, but when we decide it belongs to us. So why her? Why does this performance land in a way another actress never could? The femme fatale isn't really a male fantasy. She's a glimpse of that older power. Woman is nature, life-giving and annihilating in the same instant. The great mother who hands you life and then takes it back. Now look at Anna. She is a wife, the most domesticated, daylight role a woman can be handed. And what erupts out of her is pure Tithonian chaos. Her desire literally generates a new creature. A slick, tentacled thing she grows and tends in a dingy apartment. If you wanted to film the idea of female nature as something monstrous, fertile, and far beyond the reach of the rational husband, you could not do better than a beautiful woman building a lover out of her own despicable longing. Anna isn't insane in the clinical sense. She's the return of everything marriage was designed to keep a lid on. Have you ever had a feeling so enormous that you understood for 1 second why Anna does what she does on that subway floor? Let's talk about all this in the comments. Critics have also noticed that Anna's contortions echo the photographs of hysterical women taken at the Salpêtrière Asylum in 19th century Paris. The critic J. Hoberman called the performance a veritable aria of hysteria. And then there's the contrast that turns this into art instead of spectacle. Off-screen, the real Adjani is the opposite of Anna. She's controlled, guarded to the point of mystification. Famously private, allergic to interviews, slow and exacting with roles, the kind of star who'd skip the Oscars rather than be fully available. Truffaut said she acts as though her life depended on it. And the eerie thing is that the woman who can detonate like that on film is, in person, a closed door. She once said being an actress was for her not just a profession but a profession of faith. Religious devotion, you see. You don't get the explosion without the discipline. Which brings us to the scandals, and one of them is one of the cruelest things ever done to a famous woman. In the mid-80s, a rumor started spreading across France that Isabelle Adjani had AIDS, and then that she had died of it. This was the peak of the panic, when an AIDS diagnosis was both a death sentence and a moral verdict. Rumors got specific. A hospital in Marseille, even a room number. It grew so widely believed that she finally went on French national television to prove with her own living face that she was still alive. Picture that. Her words still sting. I'm not dead, I'm well, I'm not ill, and I don't have AIDS. And then the gut punch. It was so insulting to those who really did have AIDS. She'd also said that she hated having to insist she wasn't sick, that it felt like saying, I am not guilty, as if sickness were a crime. Where did it come from? She has linked it to two things. One almost slapstick. She was being driven around by her then partner, the actor Warren Beatty, to get daily antihistamine allergy shots. And paparazzi, who clocked a glamorous woman receiving regular injections, decided they knew what it was for. The other, far darker, it surfaced amid a wave of backlash after she publicly, proudly affirmed her Algerian heritage. At a moment when Jean-Marie Le Pen's far-right National Front had made anti-immigrant, anti-Algerian rhetoric a national sport. A mixed-race French icon with her North African father, in that climate, made her a target. For a while, she said, producers got nervous about hiring her. A poll a month after her television appearance found that millions of French people still thought she was dying. That's the sort of thing that teaches a beautiful woman to keep the door shut. And she kept choosing courage anyway. She read from Salman Rushdie's Satanic Verses at the 1989 Césars. When doing so, carried real risk.
Isabelle Adjani.
She publicly criticized Pope Benedict over his remarks on condoms and AIDS. On the romantic front, the headline you've probably heard is the Daniel Day-Lewis story. They were together about 6 years, and in 1995 she gave birth to their son, Gabriel Cain, in New York. The tabloid version, repeated everywhere, is that when she told Day-Lewis she was pregnant, he ended the relationship by fax. And what Adjani herself has described is sad enough. She said he didn't visit during the pregnancy, came only briefly after the birth, and that she learned he'd married Rebecca Miller from a Federal Express note that reached her on his wedding day. She said he had once proposed, and that she still had the engagement ring in a box. You can now see how she became the patron saint of women who feel everything and trust nothing. Before we get to the part you came here for, the beauty, let me thank the people who keep the lights on around here. To the channel members, I see you, and I adore you. You are the reason our members-only podcast episodes exist, where we go even messier than this. If you want in on that, becoming a member is right there beneath the video. And if you're not ready for that, no pressure at all. A like and a comment help more than you'd think. Okay, so the blue dress. If you take one single image out of possession, it's Anna in that dress, and it's a masterclass in using color. The costume designer was Ingrid Zoré, and her choice was brilliant. Anna wears multiple versions of the same blue dress. High collar, long sleeves, full skirt, a row of small Victorian buttons running up the back like a bumpy blue spine. She wears one until it's filthy, then changes into the next identical one. Her coat is royal blue, her boots are navy, even her sunglasses are rimmed in azure. She is drowning in blue from head to foot, and this is the genius of it. The blue doesn't read as sexy. It reads as melancholy, as madness, as imagination, as cold. Meanwhile, her white-clad double, Helene, is everything blue is not. Serene, untroubled, lit like a saint. Blue is the woman who feels a lot. White is the woman who's been nicely switched off. The film is arguing in color before anyone opens their mouth. So how do we steal this? And I do mean steal it, because the entire point of a beauty blueprint is that you always walk away with something usable. Here's how I translate Anna onto a real face with real products. First, the skin. Adjani's whole screen power rests on luminous, almost translucent, lit from within pale skin, the kind that looks lit even under the ugly lights of a subway. You're after a light reflecting foundation or a skin tint applied thin. We're chasing dewy and poreless, not matte and flat. Second, commit to one color. Pick a single saturated color you love and run it through the entire look. Not blue eyeshadow plus a red lip plus a green bag. One color, head to toe, monochrome and disciplined. Third, the hair. Something like, I have more interesting things to do than my hair. Which is kind of an allure. A little texture spray, fingers instead of a brush, and let it be imperfect. Fourth, and this is the part that frightens people, go lighter on the makeup, not heavier. A flushed, slightly cried-in under eye, a bitten lip, skin you think you can see straight through. Skip the heavy contour and the cut crease. The romance here is fragility, not armor. And fifth, the secret that ties the whole thing together. The effect lives entirely in contrast. A pristine, almost severe silhouette, that high-collared, buttoned-up blue, worn by a woman who appears emotionally undone. Controlled clothes, uncontrolled feeling. That tension is the most enticing aesthetic, and it is 1,000 times more interesting than merely pretty. I have heard many men and women alike saying that they are most attracted by strictly dressed women that are instead wild in their minds. No one is usually properly attracted to clothes that leave nothing to the imagination, a bit like what Isabelle Huppert shows us in The Piano Teacher. I made a video on that too, and as I'm sure you know, this is not about prudeness. On the contrary, it's to allow space for your madness and sexuality, and not stifle it with overly predictable, sexy clothing. Now, did Adjani herself ever spill any real beauty secrets? A few, and they're refreshingly down to earth. She said she's a follower of hyaluronic acid, always in small doses, of course, to soften wrinkles and fine lines. Adjani never once tried to be relatable, palatable, or easy. The beauty was real, but it was never the point. It helps, it's a very useful tool, as we all know, but it's what's inside that actually makes the difference. There are thousands of women as beautiful as Isabelle, but only she left this mark on us. And if you're feeling like all of this is suddenly extremely relevant again, you are not alone. There's a Hollywood remake of Possession in the works right now at Paramount, with Robert Pattinson producing, and Margaret Qualley stepping into Anna's blue dress. Adjani's response to all this has been pure, delicious Adjani. About Qualley personally, she was warm. She said that when they met at a dinner, Qualley told her she resembled Adjani more than she resembled her own mother, Andie MacDowell, and Adjani added, she has crazy talent. About the remake itself, she was cooler, calling today's appetite for cinematic extremism a bit of a fashion, and the project a case of, as it's been translated, enlightened opportunism. Well, we're living through a moment that adores the image of female rage, almost like an accessory. Adjani gave us female rage, and then it nearly ate her alive. So feel everything, by all means, but maybe some things you get to keep. That's it for this one. If you made it all the way to here, you're my favorite kind of person, and you should go grab that blue t-shirt and wear the reference. Tell me in the comments who belongs under the beauty blueprint next. Stay a little mysterious, and I'll see you in the next one. I've queued up the next chapter for you here. I'll see you soon. Love, Kira. Now go create your own blueprint.